Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome back to Overlord Season 4, Episode 5. In the last episode, a lot has happened, quality-wise, or rather importance-wise, not so much quantitatively, because only two things of significance happened, really. One thing was that Ainz fought on the arena and won his match with the War Troll, and then War Troll or War Ogre, I think War Ogre, the Warrior King, right? And of course, Ainz won because how else could it have gone? And in that, he gained himself an ally, or rather a subordinate, because the War Ogre will now join the ranks of Nazarick, is my assumption, because, I mean, those were the terms, right? I win, you join Nazarick, you win, you can eat me. That was the deal. Ainz won to the point where he just outright killed the ogre, but of course, him being the master of life and death, he was able to bring him back to life, to the awe of the entire audience, including Jirkniv, who just promptly and immediately pledged his allegiance to Nazarick to become a vassal state. Now the entirety of the Baharut Empire is going to be a vassal state of Nazarick. An empire being a vassal state of essentially a city-state, because that's what the Sorcerer Kingdom is, right? It's limited to just... what's the city called? It's limited to just the city and, like, neighboring areas. It's not a whole country, it's just a city-state, like, I don't know, Vatican. And now it has an empire as its vassal. I mean, it's probably the best decision Jerkniv has made so far. Let's be honest here. The only way for his nation to survive is to become a vassal state. And the only way for him to survive is to become a vassal. Ainz, of course, had no idea what to do. He doesn't even know what the fuck is a vassal state. Because he just went there to advertise his Adventurers Guild. And I love it. I love it that Ainz just went there to preach about Raid Shadow Legends, and instead he got, well, not instead, besides, he got an empire as a vassal state. It bears repeating, a whole ass empire as a vassal state. I hope that his efforts in spreading the word about the Adventurers Guild were also successful. I'm assuming we're gonna see that either in this episode or in future episodes. We'll see. I'm really, really, really curious about the adventurers, about where Ainz is going to send them, about what adventures there will be ahead of them, and about what adventures will Ainz set off onto. The Thorn Sword is also one very interesting detail, that it apparently uses runes that were used in Yggdrasil. So I'm assuming Ainz is going to visit the country of the dwarves sooner or later to figure out why they're using runes, where they get the knowledge about runes and all that stuff. And I'm very, very much looking forward to that. I see the first frame of this episode is Demiurge. So either he's in the capital. I don't think so. I think it looks like Nazarick. He's probably gonna meet Albedo in Ainz's bedroom yet again, because it seems to be a running theme here, and wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But yeah, let's see where Demiurge is going. And to do that, you guys are gonna need your subs, and I'm gonna need my sound. And I'm also gonna have to ask you for your support monetarily on Patreon, or thrown down in the description, or just for free by sharing my content, spreading the word. The word of mouth matters a lot for the growth of a channel. I say it every time. I need to find new ways to convey the same meaning, because it's getting stale, isn't it? And with all that out of the way, we can finally start watching episode 5 of Overlord 4 version by Subs, please. And it's gonna be starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, that's definitely Nazarick. He's busy turning empires into vassal states. Oh. Oh. Against slain theocracy. Color me intrigued. Of course. Of course, everybody wants praise from Daddy Bones. Oh. Did he just right away set off towards the Dwarven Kingdom? Yes. Yes, indeed. Oh? Oh. And he did. He did take action personally. And he's gonna take it as Ainz couldn't wait for me to propose it, so he decided to just act on his own. Yeah? I love those surprised cats. Like from Indian telenovelas. Okay. I guess that's one way to understand it. Is probably to conquer it. Right? Oh, no. Immeasurably deep plot, of course. In reality, Ainz just wants to ask about the sword. But of course, everybody thinks he's playing four-dimensional chess. I mean, I guess you can look at it as Ainz playing chess so high in dimensions that he himself is getting lost in them. Or I guess you could look at it as a legit strategy. If you yourself don't know what the fuck you're doing, how can your enemies, right? That makes Ainz an unpredictable force to be reckoned with. I can't wait for her to appear. Hopefully she's not gonna die. Hopefully she's one of the adventurers that are gonna join Ainz's guild. Okay, yeah, this OP is growing on me. I love this part of it, especially. With like castanets in the background. Or clapping, I don't know what that is. A brand new statue? No need. Yeah. Who are those veiled people around Ainz? Or should I say, veiled creatures? Makes sense. Zenberu. Okay. Is Zenberu gonna join us? Ainz wants that. Ainz wants to be questioned. So you're gonna help establish friendly relationship. Probably pretty rocks. Maybe rare metals. Go Cutus, you kinky motherfucker. I'm gonna choke on my coffee. Cold. Uh, it's a competition now. Uh, Jesus Christ. Uh, uh, this series never fails to make me laugh. You need to train to be the best chair you can be. Headbutt the vampire lolly. She deserves the headpats. Yeah, Shaltir would probably be enough. Makes sense. Ainz continues with his plans of making the Guardians grow past what they were programmed to do, to grow past their level cap and whatnot. Yeah, makes perfect sense. I really do like how we're continuing with that. It's not just some plots that he abandoned back in season one, but now it's prevalent. It continues throughout the series. In general, I think I already mentioned that before. Uh, Overlord is really amazing about continuity, where all the arcs are like intertwined. They're not like self-contained. Oh, they have a kid already. His trained pose, I'm assuming. Let me guess, those things aren't called elephants. They're probably not elephants. Like Oliphants in fuck Lord of the Rings. Armored elephants, something like that maybe. Oh, that's some pretty backgrounds. And just like that, a castle. Or a tower. I guess that also works. Damn! Damn! That's big. I'm guessing someone's gonna notice. Fully furnished? Probably, yeah. Could also be that the dwarves, like, reverse engineered some runic weapons left behind by other players. Not this time. Not this time. They won't be. I mean, I guess what's your definition of fine? Diary? Of course. Literally everything. Yeah. Knowledge unused is no knowledge at all. Aura is probably one of the most, like, mature guardians here. Like, understands Ainz the most. Entrance to the Dwarven lands? I was expecting some, like, gates. Hanzo? Okay, I guess those are, like, shadow ninjas. That looks abandoned. Yeah, that's abandoned. Did the dwarves move further down? Or did they relocate somewhere else and they're just using this place as a mine? I guess there is just a single dwarf around here. Oh, invisibility cloak. Okay, yeah, they moved. Yeah, it's probably some, like, low tier invisibility cloak. I guess the news didn't reach those parts. Gone the Firebeard. Okay. Okay, why? Did the mines run out of resources, perhaps? Just don't get scared. I guess Ainz was here the whole time. Not even moving Aura. Yeah. He probably has like a whole bag of runic stones. It is Lagus, or I guess Lagu also works. Okay, so it's a dying craft. For what reason? Yeah, okay. I'd be interested in hearing your story. He's gonna be useful then. And it proved to be better than runes. Okay. I'm guessing it's not the case in Yggdrasil. It's simply that the runes in this world are weaker than the Yggdrasil ones, or something along those lines. Yeah, and Ainz could probably help with that. Okay. How much of it is talent, how much of it is skill? Okay, so the Dwarven society just fell from grace. You go. And they're gonna revive runesmithing in the Sorcerer Kingdom. Of course, deal with the devil. Ainz can make one hell of an enticing offer. Oh? Kobolds? I'm assuming? CG kobolds. Quagoa, okay. I guess not kobolds. Mm-hmm. Like Mithril Quagoa, Orichalcum Quagoa. Gotcha. Yep. Shaltir is learning. Okay, I guess she deemed it necessary to don her Valkyrie armor. How's she planning to capture them, though? Does she have, like, Pokeballs on hand? Okay, they're Sentient. Interesting. I didn't think they're gonna be sentient. I guess right. Shaltir has her whole like family, right? Her familiars. So if there's anybody who would have magic that can capture lesser creatures, it would be Shaltir. One thing I need to mention: this CG isn't the greatest, but it's better than the Goblin Army. For sure, it's better than the Goblin Army. Yeah, that also works. as easy as that. Were they chased out of their own lands by something greater, perhaps? Or no, they were just sent there to destroy because. Okay, so now they're on a mission to save the Dwarven Kingdom. Gotcha. For a moment I thought it might be a new ED. I don't think it is. Is it a new ED? I don't recall the ED being in English. Well, partly in English. Am I tripping here, or is it a new ED? No, no, it's not a new ED. I remember this chorus. I think. I might be tripping either way. That was a great episode. Okay. That was episode 5 of Overlord Season 4. And I liked it really, really, really much. So, how about we go through it again? Shall we? Right from the very beginning. I came to get permission for some plans I had against the theocracy. I will be interested in hearing what those plans are, because so far theocracy seems like the only legit threat. Legit, maybe not even legit threat, but a possible threat. All the other nations don't exactly have the firepower, the manpower to fight against Nazarick. The theocracy has its holy magic, has mastery over magic, has those godkin they were called, I believe, the angels and all that. So if there is any nation at all who would be a threat to Nazarick in this world, that would be the slain theocracy. Unless we learn about other nations that could possibly also be a threat. I believe there is a country of dragons that could potentially cause issues. Maybe, I don't know, depends how strong those dragons are compared to the Nazarick ones. But as far as the nations we know about, Slain Theocracy is number one, definitely. So I'm curious to hear what Demiurge's plans are. And of course, he wants to report directly and receive some praise. Of course, everybody wants a headbutt from Daddy Bones. Of course, we cannot fathom the thoughts of a supreme being such as him. He is genuinely just curious about the runes. It's not four-dimensional chess. It'll probably end up as four-dimensional chess. It'll probably end up with the Dwarven Kingdom pledging allegiance to the Sorcerer Kingdom. Maybe another vassal state, maybe just an ally, maybe, I don't know, maybe Ainz is gonna take all of the runesmiths from the Dwarven Kingdom and take them to the Sorcerer Kingdom. I don't know. It'll probably end up as something much bigger than what Ainz wanted, as things usually go, but as far as he's concerned, he's not playing any four-dimensional chess right now. Every move he makes on the chessboard, sure. I think he may be unsatisfied with some aspects of the plan. Right, it's about vassalizing the empire before the kingdom. There was a way, but Lord Ainz would need to personally take action. I'm assuming what they're talking about here is like there was a way to vassalize the empire, but Demiurge didn't propose it. Right? He didn't came forth with that plan. He had some other plan, perhaps. And Ainz deemed this plan unworthy because in his eyes, vassalizing the empire should come first. So he acted on his own to vassalize the empire. The plan you created, Demiurge, was unsatisfying for Lord Ainz-sama to the point where he had to act alone. Right? That's the vibe I'm getting from their dialogue, and that's probably what it is. Yeah, the Empire has officially requested to become a vassal state. And it was a result of Ainz visiting the Empire on his own for just 3 days. Honestly, I thought it was 1 day. But 3 days, I guess, makes sense. No, 2 days, because we know that there was at least one night that he sent the Adventure Guild dude back to the city. Yeah, so it was at least 2 days. Kind of little bit bummed that we didn't see like the fallout, the continuation of all of that, right? We didn't see adventurers coming in droves trying to get into the good graces of Ainz. We didn't see anything like that. We're just completely skipping to Ainz setting forth towards the Sorcerer Kingdom. But on the other hand, I don't really mind all that much. Mm-hmm. It was probably fleshed out in the light novels, but yeah, ultimately I don't mind, honestly. And he ordered the two of them to decide what to do with it. And yeah, that's because Ainz trusts you. This line I don't like. Probably thought that you were being too reserved with your actions. Demiurge is anything but reserved in his actions. He has a fucking happy farm. If he takes it as I should be more bold with my actions, woe is the world. Woe is the world, because it's not gonna end with just a single happy farm. We're gonna have a fucking happy ranch if it continues. He moved on his own as a message telling you to not hold yourself back. Yeah. He must have an immeasurably deep plot in mind. Sure he has. Sure he has. The lizardmen just raised the statue of Ainz because of course they did. And try creating a friendly relationship with them first. Uh, oh, those lizard men, those background lizard men, I think they're CG. They're CG, but see, they're in the background. And they have that like hazy overlay on them. They have like pastel colors. And they don't look out of place thanks to that. CG can be done well, as you can see in this example, when it's tucked away in the background and made to look like the like the first plane. Although I can see the angles on their scarves, it could probably use a couple more polygons, let's be honest. And I want their high quality weapons and valuable materials, of course. Do dwarves have better materials than what Nazarick has access to? Somehow I doubt it. Then again, I'm guessing Nazarick's stocks of like important materials is limited because they only have as much as they have in their coffers, right? As soon as they run out of orichalcum ingots, they don't exactly have any more orichalcum, so they have to secure a source of it. For example, it could be, I don't know, mithril or any other sort of resource. It was the case with gold, right? Ainz, as Momon, had to find a way to earn money. It was the case with scrolls. They had a limited supply of scrolls and had to find a way to produce more, which resulted in Demiurge's happy farm. Ainz is slowly but surely securing, like, whatchamacallit, not like trade, securing like not infrastructure. What's the word? Industry. He's slowly like creating a trade route here, an import of rare resources there, some rune smithing guild somewhere else. Right? He's slowly but surely assembling a fully self-sufficient empire, essentially. There was a lizard man who knew about the Dwarven Kingdom, and that's Zenberu. And of course, Cocytus is overzealous. I didn't take him as someone this overzealous, honestly. But I guess it does make sense. Like, he had to be taught a lesson to, like, think for himself and plan for himself. I guess it makes sense that Cocytus would be the most overzealous. Everyone else, maybe besides like Demiurge and Albedo. Although no, I think even like Demiurge would be able to read the room and overlook Zenberu's like perceived rudeness. Uh, Cocytus is just programmed to think one way, and so he continues to think one way. He has grown, but not quite enough to read the room, essentially. And to know as much as I can about the dwarves before I met them. And Cocytus chair. Sure, of course. Why not? And the steam he lets out. And the competition. Who's the better chair? Okay, Shaltir chair. We have a name for it, like right? Shal chair. What's it gonna be with Cocytus? Coke chair doesn't seem appropriate, does it? Chircutus? Maybe, I don't know, if you can come up with a better portmanteau of those two words, leave a comment, I guess, or something. And also, wonder who's gonna be next in line to become a chair. Also, Aura's face. Let me grab a screenshot real quick. Because Aura's face is truly precious here. I love it. It's like everything on the list is here. The Skeleguards, some dragon, Quadrasil, and Fenris. Those are Aura's pets. Some like red Chinese looking dog, like some Chinese temples, I think, have that weird lion dog thing, like dog with a mane, and this creature reminds me of that. Also, Also, the color scheme, red and gold, very common in like Chinese creatures and mythology and whatnot. And we have like six-eyed, stumpy horse that looks like it's about to say Edward. Yeah, and those wrinkled elephants. Those are some very curious creatures around. And also some, yeah, some jagged lines, some a little bit of lack of anti-aliasing on those CG skeletons. Whatever. Aren't you a little excited? This is my chance to let everyone know that Shaltir Bloodfallen is useful. And of course, she's overthinking things because she is another one of the guardians who's overzealous. Aura and Mara are like the most easygoing, honestly. Everybody else is too overzealous for their own good. Uh, Aura and Mara are probably like the guardians who are, I don't know how to say, like the most aligned with Ainz's actual real plans, right? They like handle people well enough. They're not bloodthirsty genocidal maniacs. They can read the room. They can understand what Ainz is telling them, right? They're like the most, the least like tunnel visioned. I'd hazard saying the most intelligent in terms of like emotional intelligence, not perhaps not like pure intelligence. When it comes to pure intelligence, it's probably Demiurge, but Aura and Mare are those like the most well-rounded and well-adjusted and well-adapted guardians. Like to I like to come with me. I will also take Shaltir so that she can learn, so that she can experience growth, so that she can see the world and, sure, fail, sure, make mistakes, but learn from that. And the people around her can support her through it all. Ainz really wants to create a family, right? All the guardians supportive of each other. He told me he wanted you to come so you could gain more experience and broaden your horizons. Yeah. Shouldn't you learn everything you can from him? But of course, Charltier took it as I have to note down every single word that leaves his mouth. Because of course she did. They already have a kid. That was fast. Although we don't quite know how much time has passed. Why the stinky eye? Ainz brought your husband to life. Ainz, like, offered prosperity to your people. I guess she still has to act as a snitch. I don't know, maybe. Probably. I'm not gonna snatch your kid or anything. Yeah, she's protective. Well, they are rare. Yeah, I'm not gonna snatch your kid. But if you had, like, one you didn't want, I wouldn't mind taking him. Time to depart. Those are some interesting creatures. A whole menagerie. And some very pretty vistas. Like this shot is really, really pretty. They really are taking care of creating some like pretty art in this season. They're really taking care of like the aesthetic side. It seems to me like in previous seasons it was kind of sidelined, kind of just, push the episodes out as fast as you can, don't care about anything, just like some important scenes, sure, put some more time into them. Something's not important, fucking CG it. This time it seems like they're actually putting some proper care into it. And I wonder if it's a sign of things to come. Because, first of all, it's not often, it's really not often that an anime gets a sequel. It's even less often that it gets a third season. And if it gets a fourth season, chances are it's gonna continue getting seasons. And the fact that this season has seemingly like more budget and more care put into it, the CG is better, the art is like better at times. It has even like better pacing, honestly. The fact that there's a movie coming tells me that Overlord has become maybe not quite a golden goose to the studio who makes it, but at least like an important pillar of their business, which makes me hopeful that we're gonna keep seeing more and more and more of Overlord in the future, that the seasons continue being received well, and the studio is going to continue creating more seasons. Like you'd think that after the fiasco with the Goblin Army or with the CG goats, you'd think that that's the point where criticism is kind of overwhelming and they like stop making more because, oh, I guess the series failed, it doesn't make enough money, drop it. But despite all those shortcomings, it has to have made enough money, and it has to have been good enough and popular enough to warrant further and further seasons. So with this season being even better, that tells me season 5 is all but guaranteed. No, that's not the correct expression. All but guaranteed implies it's not guaranteed, but it is guaranteed. Yeah, season 5 is guaranteed, pretty much, at this point, far as I'm concerned. Although, there were other shows who were well received and critically acclaimed and never even got a sequel. And there were shows who were utter horrid garbage and got like 13 seasons and counting. So there is no rule, really, is there? And of course, he has a spell to just create a big, huge fuck off tower in the middle of nowhere, fully furnished and all. I'm with you, Zenberu. I'm fully with you here. Rune technology in an unknown land. Demiurge and Albedo will take care of the problem with the Empire while I'm gone. I dread to think how exactly they're gonna take care of it. I dread to think. Honestly, it's like perfectly plausible that Ainz returns and Jirkniv is just turned into an elder leech. The entire empire is genocided and everybody's turned into undead because Demiurge and Albedo deemed that to be the best course of action. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Although I guess that wouldn't be the best course of action, so maybe they're like smart enough to not genocide the Empire immediately. Empire that willingly submitted themselves as a vassal state. Yeah, if Ainz wanted to destroy the Empire, he would have. He would have just cast a single spell that turns every single resident of the Empire into an undead if he so desired, but he didn't. He established political relationship, he established the Empire as a vassal state, so he clearly has to have a reason. Okay, I guess the Empire might not be dead after all. And of course, Ainz thinking that Demiurge was doing something behind the scenes. Little does he know, Demiurge has absolutely no clue that Ainz did what he did. Of course, she's noting everything. And yeah, think about it. Don't just mindlessly note that stuff down. Think about it and figure stuff out. Think about what Lord Ainz was thinking at the time. Exactly. It feels like I've gained a dumb little sister. Aura is really mature here, honestly. She's probably the youngest out of them all. Or maybe Mare is. or were they created at the same time? I don't know. She's probably one of the younger guardians, but she's probably the most mature of them all, honestly, and the most like. Mm, I don't know how to say the most uh mindful, maybe that's the word. Meaning that she actually thinks about stuff, thinks things through instead of just genocide, right? I already talked about her before, so I'm gonna stop right here. This is the entrance. I was expecting the like stereotypical dwarven entrance, huge carved columns and big ass stone doors, and perhaps some like sculpted faces in the side of the wall, right? Like Mount Rushmore, but with dwarven faces. But no, it's just a cave. It's quite literally just a cave. The dwarven city, although abandoned, sure, it's also very plain. Like, I know that dwarves are probably very utilitarian, and they're not much for I don't know, particularly much like decorations and stuff, but you'd expect something here, right? Some carvings, some statues, something instead of just cubes. This kind of reminds me of dungeons in like Dungeon Meshi. The manga, amazing manga by the way, highly recommend it. There was an area in Dungeon Meshi that was just cubes, except they were beige instead of gray. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Uh, Other dungeons, other layers, floors in Dungeon Meshi are amazing and super detailed and whatnot. There was just one area that was just this, and I that's not what I expected of dwarves. Honestly, that's absolutely not what I expected. No living creatures in the city. How did they not notice the quokka or whatever they're called? No, quokkas are those like tiny little rodents. The not kobolds. Let's just call them. Although kobolds are sometimes lizards, sometimes dogs. So, eh, whatever. Kobolds are weird. Sometimes dog creatures are referred to as kobolds. Sometimes lizard creatures. I don't know which one is correct. Maybe both, maybe neither. Who the fuck knows? Uh, and of course, the dwarf is hiding. People of Feo Raito moved to a different city 3 years ago. I thought it's because maybe the resources run out, that maybe dwarves are migrating every now and then from city to city, right? They mined one mountain clean, so they're moving to another mountain or something. But I guess the city just became infested with kobolds, so that's why they had to move. Or Bella Fiora from the Sorcerer Kingdom Ainz Ooal Gown. He doesn't know where it is. That's interesting because it tells me news doesn't make it this far, and the same probably goes the other way as well. Which tells me that there might be other nations, other cities, other races around that both have no knowledge of the world that we've been living in the whole time, right? The Riestis Kingdom, Baharut Empire, Slin Theocracy, and that the world we've been in so far has no knowledge of those other nations. The continent seems pretty big from what we've seen on the map, and there are some things that are undiscovered yet. And who knows, perhaps there are other continents behind some great ocean. I don't think they have like good enough sailing technology to make it to those other lands. Or maybe they do, maybe they did make it to those other lands, but that would be mentioned somewhere, wouldn't it? Maybe they never just thought that there might be something beyond the Great Water. Yeah, that's interesting. I would be very interested in like seeing some a little bit of a marine adventure sometime in the future. Perhaps it's coming in the light novel, perhaps it's not, I don't know, but like setting off on a huge Ainz galleon to venture beyond the great water and discover new lands, that would be cool. That would be great. But even without that, there seems to be plenty of undiscovered cultures, which gives legitimacy to Ainz's plans of creating Adventurers Guild and of creating it the way he plans on creating it, right? Going on adventures, exploring. Because it seems there is a lot of unexplored lands around. The fact that he has no clue about like human kingdom, about the sorcerer kingdom means dwarven kingdom has no like relationships with our like core area, let's just call it, to simplify things, right? There isn't any trade, there aren't any messengers going back and forth, there aren't any adventurers going back and forth, they're perfectly isolated. Which kind of makes sense because the core area is kind of self-sufficient. uh, from what we've seen, the dwarven weapons are like mostly just curios. It's nothing particularly that they would be importing, that there would be a desire for. It's just a curious thing because it also seems that magic weapons are straight out superior to what the dwarves can create. So yeah, the core area is fairly isolated. I will love Ainz breaking that isolation. That will be great. That will be amazing. They all moved to a city called Feogera, 6 days north from here. Send you back to your friends. I have to tell them that sending a kid into a place full of monsters isn't something that an adult should do. Psych! She wasn't alone. Of course, he's scared. That's a magic lamp. That's interesting. Or at least it uses some glowing crystal. He's ruling a kingdom of humans. Friendly relationship with the dwarven kingdom. Yep. He's interested in runes and he knows runes. And the rune he inscribed here is genuinely Lagus. Or Lagus. Elder Futhark has like many names. Perthro, Petro, Hagalas, Hagal. They refer to like the same letters but have different versions of the name. So the same goes for Lagus, Lagu, Ingvas. Now I think Ingvas has just like one name. Yes, some of the runes have multiple names, but I like the attention to detail. I already mentioned it while looking at the Thorn sword, that the runes actually spell out Thorn. It's my huge pet peeve. When a show uses Elder Futhark and just scribbles complete gibberish or throws some random symbols into the Elder Futhark, that's the worst. If you're using Elder Futhark, just use fucking Elder Futhark. Don't create whole new characters. And it's like nothing that most people would pay attention to, right? I'd wager a guess that the majority of people watching anime, the majority of people in general, don't know Elder Futhark, but I do know it, and that's why it warms my heart every time when I see it used properly. And that I was talking about care put into this season before. This shows a great deal of care. That they cared enough to research Elder Futhark. I mean, it's not like huge amount of research. You Google Elder Futhark, and you go to Google Images, and you see a whole table of what rune looks like what's the equivalent in Latin alphabet, what's the name and the meanings of it. Like I don't know, Raido means journey and change, or what else do I remember? I think Ingvas. No, not Ingvas. Or maybe it is Ingvas. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What I meant to say, to sum up, to make things short, research Elder Futhark. Elder Futhark correct, me happy. Okay, let's go on. Do you know others? Yes, he does, because those are the things from Yggdrasil. There aren't many runesmiths left around. That's interesting. A fall of a civilization, essentially. The dwarves fell from grace. Dwarven magic items were made with runes. But 200 years ago, again, 200 years ago, a magic caster found a way to enchant items with magic. Was it a player? I don't know. Because the previous time it's suspected the players made it to this world was 200 years ago, wasn't it? I think so. Or was it 100? I don't know. I'm not sure right now. But yeah, 200 years ago, someone found a way to enchant items with magic. Similar effects. And takes a lot less time because you just do abracadabra and the item is enchanted. You don't need to painstakingly carve the runes into the blade or whatever. It's more expensive but faster. That's the trade-off. A lot of dwarves started thinking that it would be better to become magic casters than runesmiths, so the traditional craft began to die out. You don't see many dwarven magic casters around. Like in general, in media, first of all, you don't really see dwarven mages, and also not here. We haven't seen any dwarves whatsoever so far. We've seen some beast folk. Have we seen elves besides Aura and Mare? I'm trying to remember, but I don't think we did. No, I don't think we did. But yeah, we haven't seen any dwarves either. You'd think that they would become magic casters to kind of go with the flow of the world and integrate themselves with how the world is, and yet you don't see them around. So they kind of rejected their tradition, rejected the things they were known for, to know positive effects. Right? It's not like dwarven magic casters are well known around the world, right? Or dwarven magic weapons are well known. Dwarven runic weapons are known. Nobody hears about dwarven magic weapons. So they kind of try to conform, but they didn't have anything more to offer, essentially. Because dwarven magic casters in some faraway dwarven kingdom, why go there for magic weapons when you have magic casters in your own country? Right? It made sense to go to the Dwarven Kingdom to trade with the Dwarven Kingdom when they were the only ones who could create runic weapons. You would establish trade because you want the runic weapons from there. But if they all turn into magic casters, you have domestic magic casters. You don't need that trade. You don't need the Dwarven Kingdom. And that led to the collapse of their society, essentially. Rune crafting has some good points. Mainly, it's cheap. It doesn't require expensive ingredients. That's interesting, and that's very cool because it can be used to mass produce weapons, magic weapons, very cheaply. Even if they're not quite as good as even if runic weapons aren't quite as strong as magic weapons, the fact that you can give a runic weapon to every single soldier in your army without breaking bank makes it so enticing. If we revive rune crafting and create something that only runes can make, the result would be invaluable. I still believe in the enormous potential of rune crafting. Something tells me that Ainz knows more about rune crafting than the dwarves do. That the rune crafting in this world is but a shadow of what it was in Yggdrasil. And if Ainz teaches them about his knowledge of runes and they pick it up and they master it, runic weapons might turn out to be better than magic weapons. Something tells me that might be the case. I believe in the skills of our ancestors. I want to continue passing down this craft. I won't let my father's great name fade away into history. And that immediately resonates with Ainz. Great name. Right? Ainz also doesn't want the great name of Ainz Ooal Gown to fade into obscurity. Immediate connection. Immediate. If you want Ainz to be friendly or at least neutral towards you, praise his friends or mention something about you yourself having friends or preserving a great name or something along those lines. It gets immediate effect on Ainz, gets his immediate attention. Right? Immediately, without even thinking. Oh, his great name, huh? How about that? I'm gonna support you. No, forget it. My entire kingdom is going to support you. How many runesmiths do you need? We're gonna take all of them. We're gonna fucking kidnap them from their own homes. How many do you need? What resources? I can give you everything, my dude. Immediate reaction from Ainz. We'll need money and runesmiths. I'll gather all the runesmiths from the Dwarven Kingdom to work with you. That's the minimum you'll need. I'm gonna give you more. I'm gonna give you whatever the fuck you need. Are you prepared to sell your soul to me? That's meaningless because we know that Ainz doesn't take souls. It's just his way of being like imposing. The Neferia's grandma also like sold her soul to Ainz, and she's just living perfectly fine, perfectly happily in a village with Neferia and Neferia's girlfriend, and that's it. It had no like negative consequences on her. It's just Ainz's means of being imposing and creating this like Death Lord persona, the devil that you make a pact with. If my soul is alone, if my soul alone is enough to satisfy you, I don't mind giving myself to you completely. Roughly 100 demi-human intruders. Quagoa. Quagoa. Interesting mechanic of them feeding on metals and that having impact on their fur. Right? The kind of a metal they eat turns their fur into that kind of a metal, I'm assuming, right? Like, if they have brown fur, it's probably copper, so probably very easy to kill. If it's gray, it's iron. There's some silver ones who probably fed on silver. This one may be, I don't know, mithril or steel or something. The king is probably golden, right? I like it. I really do like it. CG, not the worst. Not the worst. Let me check one thing real quick. Now, it's animated on twos, so that's good. There aren't any gradients. The rule of 3 colors per element is kept. And also there are the added like drawn elements, like their eyes are drawn. It's probably that drawing is probably placed as a texture on top of their eye, but the eye itself is drawn. Lines on their arms, right? That's another thing that's drawn on top of the texture. Yeah, they actually did try to make this CG look decent. The one on the right. Oh, I thought the one on the right is drawn, but no, he moves in a distinctly CG way. But yeah, the little crest on his back is very like hand drawn because there are even some gaps in the outline. That's the giveaway that it's drawn, and yet it's CG after all. The amount of detail does betray the fact that it's CG and the fact that it moves so much, and also line thickness. Or does it? Kinda. Expressions. Yeah, expressions for sure. The mouths don't move the same way as the drawn Quagoa. Also the fur. The fur tufts look very distinct, right? The dude in the middle, it's just a like a splotch of color with just the sides having tufts of fur. The rest have like individual tufts of fur modeled. That's a dead giveaway. It's CG. Now to capture all the Quagoa to learn about them, because they're probably creatures that didn't exist in Nazarick. Connected to a tunnel. I guess they all came from the tunnel. That's why the Hanzo didn't notice them before when they were initially scouting out the city. Line thickness. I was talking about line thickness, and I guess it is true. Yeah, the Quagoa in the first plane have thicker lines, and the Quagoa in the back plane have a little thinner. Usually, in case of 2D, no matter how far a character is, they have mostly the same thickness of the outline of the black lines, and that's what makes characters in the background look so wonky sometimes, right? Because, for example, if you create an outline of the eye with a certain thickness, there is not really any place for like the iris, right? So that might look wonky sometimes. In this case, they're CG and the outlines are set in the shader, so you can place them as far as you want, and the line will be thinner and thinner. But the line will still be there, and the details will still be there, right? The middle, like gray-haired Quagoa has all the detail on the tuft, even though it's so far in such a far plane. Normally, we wouldn't see that. The characters in the further planes lose on detail. It's not the case with CG. But overall, again, not the worst. Absolutely not the worst. It's certainly better than the Goblin Army. And I guess it makes a modicum of sense that since they want to place so many of them here, they would resort to CG. Although CG would make sense in this case, right? Where you just place them as props because you need many of them and they're far away and they're obstructed with so many effects, so you don't really notice them being CG. In a shot like this, where there's like 4 of them, I don't know, you can make the 2 back ones CG, but the front ones should be drawn, really, honestly. Mascot species. It makes sense that it will be Shaltir who has this magic, as I again already mentioned. And see, those 2 are drawn. Why? I don't know. Those are drawn. Why? I don't know. I mean, I probably do know. It allows for like better contact between them. One of the downsides of mixing CG with 2D is impact of CG on 2D and impact of 2D on CG are very hard to do well. Usually the weapon is like ever so slightly sliding. It doesn't really look like it connected. It looks like it just barely connected, and the enemy just flies away for no reason. Right? Again, Goblin Army and the charge although that was CG on CG and it was still absolute dogshit garbage, so I guess it's not a rule after all. Masshole species. We won't talk. Yeah, we'll see about that. We're friends after all. We are warriors serving the great clan Lord Yuo. We were planning to destroy the dwarven city to the north. Why? That's what I don't get so far. Why? Like, I could explain. I could understand it if it was something like the Quagoa eat metal. Dwarves stole all the metal from the mines. The Quagoa are hungry and they need to migrate. Or they decided that the reason behind their misery, the fact that they're starving, is because dwarves are stripping the mountains of metals. So the only way to prevent starvation is to get rid of the cause, get rid of the dwarves. Maybe it is something along those lines. We don't know. No reason was given. Another one of my predictions initial was that something far worse made its nest down below, and that forced Quagoa to move towards the Dwarven Kingdom. But we already went through that with the whole arc of Hamske being removed from the position of power, causing the like other creatures to fight and the other creatures to run to encounter Inferia's village, right? We went through that entire arc already, so that would be duplicating it. So I understand they're going for something else here. And we're supposed to kill any dwarves that try to escape in this direction. Why? The main force should be slaughtering the dwarves any moment now. I guess we're just gating to the place where we need to be. Or maybe Ainz is going to pull out some flying mount or something. Because the other city is 6 days away. 6 days away on foot, I'm assuming, which means probably 2 or 3 days away using Yggdrasil and the other animals, which means probably a few hours away if Ainz were to, I don't know, blink his way there, or maybe send Shaltir flying, or he himself pulled out a flying mount. There are possibilities. There certainly are possibilities to get there in time, although it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight. I can't wait until we can witness that. I really, really cannot. That was episode 5 of Overlord Season 4, and what can I say? I had one grand time with it. Overlord. Honestly, Overlord is one of the highlights of my week. Overlord and Yofukashi no Uta are like the highlights of my week, honestly. Symphogear is also great, don't get me wrong. Madoka Magica is also setting out to be amazing. But Overlord becomes this series that I'm looking forward to just have a good time with it, right? To do some theorizing, to get super deep into things, and at the same time to not have it be too heavy, right? It's a weird feeling where Overlord is super heavy in world building and lore and whatnot, but at the same time it's very approachable. Yeah, I think that's the word I would use it. I would use here. It's very approachable. Right? You don't need to get 17 layers deep into someone's mind and cross-reference what you just saw with the Akashic archives and the mythologies of early 13th century Georgian monks, right? You don't need to do all this super heavy work to understand things. There aren't any like symbolic things. There isn't anything symbolic about Overlord. There isn't anything that would have like a double meaning. There isn't anything where you'd be like, oh, Ainz is dreaming of red throne. What could it mean? Does it mean he's afraid of ruling? Does it mean Jirkniv is on his mind? Does it mean Shaltir's armor is still stalking his dreams because he doesn't like the fact that he had to fight Shaltir, you know? You don't have to get super deep into stuff. Super, super inobvious. Overlord shows exactly what it shows. You can take it fully and entirely at face value. And yet, there's so much thing to still theorize about, to still analyze. But from the angle of, from the angle of like, I don't know how to say it. From the angle of, I don't know, obvious analysis, not like analyzing a like physical experiment or chemical experiment versus analyzing a poem in Suomi, right? That's the difference. When you analyze Overlord, you see things that are happening, and they are exactly the things that are happening, and you can reasonably predict the results of those things happening. When you analyze something like Review Starlight or Madoka Magica, you have to get into symbolism. What do the chairs signify? What does the black and white world signify? Is it a split in personality? Is it a split in world? Is it a feeling of uncertainty caused by yada 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 yada? Right? Overlord is very approachable, and I really do enjoy it. I really do like it. What else can I say? And I can already say I'm gonna enjoy the Dwarven Kingdom arc very very much. I'm a huge sucker for what I like to call building isekai. Isekais where the main character tries to build things, tries to establish things, where they're not just being murder hobos going from dungeon to dungeon to dungeon to dungeon, just mindlessly conquering them and selling gems that somehow drop from every enemy to buy gear to conquer further dungeons. I'm a huge fan of isekais where the main character decides to create a guild of adventurers for themselves, or decides to establish a city or a village, or decides to, I don't know, start a shop or a trading business, trading caravan, or something like that. I'm a huge sucker for that, and Overlord really gets into that. At the same time, it doesn't forsake the adventures and the fun stuff, the active stuff. I'm gonna really enjoy this arc because it really seems like we're building. We're building and building and building a lot. I was super excited when Ainz became a ruler and established his own country because I already saw the writing on the wall where it's gonna bring us, and so far it's bringing us exactly where I would want it to bring us. So I'm excited for the next episode. I really want to see them in the Dwarven Kingdom. I really want Ainz to establish like a runesmithing guild, maybe in the Dwarven Kingdom, maybe in the Sorcerer Kingdom, maybe establish a trade, maybe things like that. Again, I'm a huge sucker for building and creating in isekais. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. I don't think I have anything more to say about it, but maybe you do. If so, then do let me know in the comments. What did you think of this episode, of my reaction, of my theories? No spoilers, please. As always, if you do want to talk spoilers, my Discord here, also link in the description. Join it. There's Overlord channel. You can go there, use spoiler tags, talk about spoilers. Simple as. Like this video if you liked it, disliked it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Overlord Season 4, but also Yofukashi no Uta Call of the Night, also Hataraku Mao-sama Season 2, also Ruby Ice Queendom, also Symphogear GX, and Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica, which I guess you're gonna see it on YouTube in a week because it's up on my Patreon so far. Speaking of Patreon, you can support the channel monetarily on Patreon or Throne. On Patreon, for $10 a month, you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear GX, like Madoka Magica. The first episode is already up on Patreon. For $5, you get to vote in seasonal polls, like the poll that made me watch Madoka. Next season, after I'm done with Madoka, I might want to vote for something else. We'll see. And for just a single dollar, you also get a role on my Discord, and you get a place in the credits that you're gonna see very, very shortly. On Throne, you can throw some money towards my purchase of some specific thing, like a new camera or a new lighting or stuff like that. Up to you. And if you just don't want to spend any money whatsoever, you can still help the channel by sharing my content, spreading the word. The word of mouth really matters a lot for the growth of a channel, as I already said. So I'm super grateful every time you share links to my videos, because it really helps. Is that all? I think that's all. Join my Discord, already said that. So that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers. And here's the credits I mentioned. You can join those people, or you can create a list of your own if you subscribe to some other tier.